Following on, the set, another session of week 2 has been added to the client's program. So this session has been added in an attempt to try and progressively overload the intensity which the client 1 is working at by acting as an increase in frequency from the fit principle, therefore making the client work harder. Also, the main focus of the session is cardiovascular endurance and speed in order to try and meet their personal goals set by client 1. This will occur through different types of training in order to cover both of these components. Additionally, the cardiovascular endurance and speed are both used in high intensities during basketball, which makes it essential for this to be repeated in these sessions, so that the client is able to prepare at a greater extent during the later or is prepared at a greater extent during the later matches sessions due to these improvements in these aspects. The warm up, the pattern of walk, jog, and then sprint. Um, Prepares the client for later activities in the session by working with the same muscle groups and allowing muscle memory to occur. Therefore, there is less chance of an injury to occur as joints and muscles have already been gently pushed to a maximum, which is unlikely to be pushed past an exercise, consequently leaving a higher range of motion for exercises to occur. The dynamic stretches of the warm-up also contribute to the improvement of range in motion. More specifically, the opening the gate to the dynamic stretch improves the range of the movement at the hip, which will be a key joint in later exercises such as shuttle runs. Additionally, improving the hip joint's range of movement follows the specification of the client, as it also is vital in the sport of basketball. In training, the shuttle runs have been chosen as an exercise due to the fact that although it covers speed of 35-meter sprints, the long duration of each set also applies positive strain on the client's cardiovascular endurance, therefore contributing towards cardiac hypertrophy in order to decrease resting heart rate and work for longer due to bigger heart rate reserve. However, due to the long duration, high intensity of these sets, in order to not overload the client, they have been prescribed a 2-minute rest time between sets in order to recover from the exercise, therefore reducing the chance of injury by reducing the amount of time the muscle was to relax and not be strained. This is then followed by an SAQ ladder agility drill in order to continue the training of client 1's agility from the first session. This will therefore keep their muscle memory maintained as a good standard to do well in this component. However, the increase in intensity free time of fit principle from 45 seconds to 1 minute will allow for progressive overload of their muscle groups such as the hamstring and quadriceps. Additionally, providing progressive overload to the client's joints like their ankle and that range of movement and their range of movement, consequently contributing towards improving the client's agility of the sport of basketball, which points out that the specificity is also being used here. The first exercise of the drill is then repeated in order to allow for repetition of progressive overload of the client's speed and cardiovascular endurance. However, the client will also be pushed at a higher intensity for this drill due to the change in resting time in order to maximize the training applied to the components of speed and cardiovascular endurance. However, in order to prevent overload and then possible injury and demotivation, the amount of reps in each of the three sets has been decreased to ensure this. The cool down will involve an activity similar to the shuttle runs, but at a light intensity of around 9 on the RPE scale, therefore allowing a maintained blood circulation through the use of the skeletal muscle pump and the removal of harmful waste products. This will allow them to exercise sooner, like their basketball game, which they have the next day. This is then followed by some static stretches in order to maintain muscle length and joint range of movement. The likes of groin, hamstring, and quadricep stretches are used due to the high frequency at which they were used during the session. These stretches are then therefore emphasised in order to prevent harmful effects such as DOMS and also allow for steady return to the muscle's normal range of motion. Following on for this, week 3, session 1. During the warm-up, the client will firstly undergo a basketball shooting drill due to the specificity as with client 1, as basketball is their competitive sport, therefore preventing boredom with the client as they are participating in something they usually enjoy at a serious level. This is then followed by a fast-paced jog in order to prepare the body for later intense activities of speed hurdles. The dynamic stretches will then also aid this preparation by increasing blood flow and temperature of the muscles. However, these stretches will also help in terms of muscle memory due to the later activity of dumbbell swings. During training, the dumbbell swings have replaced kettlebell swings due to the principle of training known as variation, therefore reducing the chance of boredom in the client and to in turn keep them motivated to train at their best for later sessions. Additionally, the dumbbell swings will also allow the client to take further steps towards improving their upper body strength mentioned in the goals section due to the various upper body muscles required to contract during the dynamic exercise of dumbbell arm swings. The added pressure put on these muscles in different styles with this drill will in turn improve their strength via muscle hypertrophy. Also, the weight of 18 kilograms is an increase from the previous weight used in kettlebell swings of 16 kilograms due to the added dynamic aspect in this exercise, allowing more muscles to contribute to the weight and therefore allowing it to be increased. However, in order to compensate for this and not cause overload and in turn injury, the client is prescribed a 1 minute rest time between sets. Following on from this, the client will take part in 3 sets of 45-second speed hurdle training to act as an alternative from the SAQ ladder training through variation and add to the client improving their agility. This is because the speed hurdle training involves fast-paced and vital movements similarly to dribbling in basketball. Due to this high intensity, the client has been given 1 minute to recover. The first resistance drill of the plank being a free body weight exercise, which allows the client to improve their core muscles, such as the abdomen obliques, which will help provide more support to the lumbar vertebrae and in turn improve agility, as the core provides key support to agility when the body is moving at a quick pace smoothly. Finally, instead of bicep curls with dumbbells, the client is being prescribed bicep curls with a barbell. This is done to hopefully prevent boredom through the 2 previous weeks of bicep curls with dumbbells. Additionally, the weight allocated to the client increases with each set whilst their rep declines. This is to ensure that the bicep muscle progressively overloads through the increased weight and at a higher and more maximal intensity. Additionally, a justification to the fact that this weight is increased on the barbell is that more muscles are contributing to resist against the weight, and therefore more weight can be added as one muscle isn't being isolated. During the cool down, the light basketball dribbling drill has been added as a cool down to ensure sufficient circulation of blood around the body via the skeletal muscle pump to allow sufficient amounts of oxygen to the muscles and prevent injuries such as DOMS and decrease oxygen depth. Additionally, the low heart rate I have prescribed for my client to work out will also aid in efficient blood circulation and not allow waste products like lactic acid to affect it. The static stretches of forward-facing arm extensions, for example, will allow muscles like the triceps, which have been used earlier on in the exercises such as bicep curls, to maintain the length and therefore prevent injury. This will in turn account for reducing the chances of demotivation due to an injury. The second session of week 3 starts as a warm-up, which involves the exercise pattern of walk, jog, sprint to match the drills of the session. This will therefore prepare the client's muscle memory to allow greater efficiency of completing the drills throughout the session and also prepare joints, muscles being extended. This is then followed by a 10-meter basketball dribbling drill to be specific to my client as their main sport in basketball. And for increasing their motivation as they enjoy playing basketball. Also, the dribbling drill will allow some aspects of agility. This will therefore maintain the client's muscle memory from previous sessions to provide a continuation of improvement in this component, whereas the dynamic stretches like opening the gates will prepare joints like the knee and hip for later extensions as a high intensity in such as interval training. The interval training for this session has been increased from 3 sets to 4 sets from last week's session 2 activities. This is to allow progressive overload in terms of client speed as the intensity has been increased via time. The agility drill with SAQ ladders is then reinforced in the client's program after being removed in the previous session to allow variation. Additionally, progressively overloading has occurred here to allow an improvement in client 1's agility, with the set also increasing from 3 to 4. This increase in time of the exercise will cause the client to work harder. This is so that the client is working at their maximum ability to ensure the highest rate of movement of improvement in this component as possible. However, although the rest time between sets has also been decreased from 1 minute to 45 seconds, the resting time will hopefully compensate for the high intensity and therefore won't overload the client, in turn preventing injury and a lack of motivation. Finally, the client is given a varying final drill from the last week's cardiovascular agility and speed focus session to prevent boredom in the client. The shuttle runs will also give a high intensity finish to the session to progressively overload the client's work rate. During the cool down then involves a pattern of walk, jog, sprint. Then involves a 5-minute cycle on the exercise bike in order to decrease heart rate at a safe rate. This is to provide variation to the client's cool down and to the session, as the exercise bike hasn't been used yet, and also the heart rate will be able to decrease by a continuation of the use of the skeletal muscle pump, providing muscles with efficient amounts of oxygen to decrease oxygen debt and therefore recovery time as well. Additionally, the static stretches will help maintain the length of the muscles used at high workload during the session and therefore prevent the client to rush into a decline of intensity on their muscles and therefore prevent injury, such as a muscle tear. Following on from this, in week four, session 1, the light intensity basketball dribbling activity for the submaximal exercise stage of the warm-up is specific to the client. As mentioned before, the competitive sport is basketball. Additionally, this drill will help prepare aspects of the client's body, like the neuromuscular system, joint movement range, and muscle length range for later agility exercises in the session. Also, the dynamic stretches will also improve joint movement range and muscle lengthening by involving as many muscles as it can due to the high range of movement and little isolation of singular muscles. Training as a replacement from bicep curls with barbells in order to improve upper body strength, the client will perform dumbbell arm swings in order to provide variation to the program. Additionally, due to this exercise being dynamic exercise, other upper body muscles will need to contract to perform efficient form, and therefore maximizing the amount of muscles being progressively overloaded to ensure improvement in upper body strength. Although we wait for this exercise in 18 kilograms, or when it's their first time taking part in it, the dynamic aspect will allow for more weight to be used in the exercise, as not only is the bicep being used. However, to ensure they aren't overloaded, a recovery time of 1 minute is prescribed. Following on from this, where the ATP stores can replenish. Following on from this, the client has been prescribed varying sets of SAQ ladder drills in order to ensure variation to prevent boredom, whilst allowing them to perform harder exercises to improve their agility. Therefore, pushing to work at a higher intensity progressively overload their agility through the FIT principle of type of training. However, their agility is also aided with the next exercise of plank due to the advantages a strong core presents in the ability to provide support to your body whilst moving quickly and smoothly. Therefore, both sides and front of the client's core are being exercised in order to progressively overload muscles like the abdominal muscles in order to vary the muscles used to improve client one's agility. Finally, the client will undergo standing twisting bicep curls and then attempt to maximize the amount of upper body muscles benefiting from the training to in turn undergo muscle hypertrophy and therefore increase upper body strength. However, this is replaced bicep curls with a barbell in order to provide variation to the program. The cool down, the light intensity basketball drill is not only specific to the client but also allows for aspect like the body's temperature to be decreased after high intensity exercises like the SAQ ladder drills. Additionally, the static stretches such as the hamstring and will allow for the muscle's ability to stretch to be maintained and therefore allow the client to exercise as soon as possible to as opposed to someone who hasn't stretched their muscles statically, who may now have ligament damage due to the high strain not being decreased.